We're all searching for it, or people. The ones you can call when you're at the end of your rope. The ones you ask for advice in a difficult stage or deciding on which jeans to buy. The ones who you share dreams and hopes with, who get you to the gym and love your kids like their own. Motherhood was never meant to be a solitary role, and now it doesn't need to be. Here we discuss everything from our favorite kidisms to mental wellness to our best mom hacks and more. Mamas are world changers, and it's time to stop bearing that responsibility alone. So whether you're driving carpool, rocking a sleeping baby, or doing dishes, we're here for you. Welcome to the village.
Welcome to episode 14 of the Village Podcast. I'm your host, Missy Allred. Today, we are going to be talking about 9 ways to journal that don't start with your diary and sound like you're still 13 years old. These are ways that I have personally used many times, half of them probably almost daily. I have developed a very deep love for journaling and the benefits that I get from it. So some of those benefits that are research backed are a way to regulate your nervous system, to regulate your emotions, and to come back to that place of calm so that you can think more rationally, so that you can, number 2, problem solve. It's so cool that journaling can be both the thing you need to get back to calm and the thing that helps you solve your problems. It fits both of those pieces. It helps you problem solve, to think things through, to see where your gaps are, and to just really intentionally think through a problem and creatively think to come up with a solution. Another reason that journaling is so impactful is that it helps you communicate better. When we can write our thoughts out on paper, we become more eloquent, more thoughtful, and we can communicate our needs and our desires and our ideas with other people. And the 4th way is we have a better understanding of ourselves and develop a better relationship with ourselves as well, which really goes hand in hand with regulating and problem solving. But I think that's something that so many people are so disconnected with, is themselves. Moms especially tend to not acknowledge or realize what their needs are, what they may need help with, what they're lacking, what they like or want. And journaling is such a great way to start to think about those kinds of things. So let's get into our 9 ways to journal. Number 1 is black journaling. And I think I've talked about this before on the podcast, but I literally have a journal that is black, and I only use it for the purpose of black journaling. So what black journaling is when I'm feeling especially dysregulated, angry, frustrated, some very strong negative emotion, I will sit and brain dump any thought that comes to mind, no matter what it is. I put it in that notebook and I just write it out. I do not worry about punctuation. I do not worry about my handwriting. I don't worry about any of it. I just get it out as quick as my thoughts come, and whatever it is, it goes in that journal, because I am trying to get it out of my head, to release that emotion. This is that a huge part of that nervous system regulation piece, is getting it out, because when you can sit and write things out, you sit in that emotion longer, and you can actually, I know we've talked about this before, but you let it move through your body and you can release it that way and then move on. So anything that comes to mind, I write in this journal, and then I scribble it all out so that you can't read a word of it, because I'm not going to come back to this. I'm going to let it go, and by scribbling it out, or if I was feeling a particularly strong emotion, I will even burn the page, rip it out and burn the page. But by scribbling it out or burning it, we are letting that emotion fully move through us and letting it go. And sometimes you kind of just need to vent, to get your frustration out, and there's not always someone you can vent to in a healthy way. And so the paper becomes that for you, but the physical act of writing is also very helpful. Doing something with your body, we're connecting your body and your brain, which again helps us regulate more. Number 2 is affirmations or new beliefs. And the key to this is emotion. If you are just writing things out, I am happy, I am strong, I am whatever, it isn't actually doing much for you if you're not feeling an emotion behind it, because our thoughts plus our emotions are who we're being. Our thoughts plus our emotions lead to how we act. And so if we only have this thought that actually isn't holding much value to us because we're just glazing over it, it's not going to do a lot for us. It just becomes very rote, and it doesn't affect us or change the way our brain is working. So with these affirmations or new beliefs that you're writing down that you want to believe or are starting to believe, we want to put an emotion behind it. So for example, one of the things I write down every day is I have time for everything I want to do today. And I've gotten to the point where I truly believe this. With this thought in my mind is the idea that if it's important enough, it will happen during that day. And sometimes my priorities shift from what I thought would happen, and being able to see this is what needed to happen today, and if I wanted it to happen, and that this isn't even necessarily like everything I feel like I should get done, but seeing where my priorities are and aligning that with my actions, I do get done everything I want to do in the day. And I've been able to, as I write this daily, to cultivate this feeling of a little more calm and assurance that everything that was supposed to happen did happen. And this has become a belief I really do believe, an affirmation I really can get behind is I have time for everything I want to do today. Number 3 is proof of new thoughts. So we have talked about, it's been a while since I've mentioned it, but we have a place in our brain called the reticular activating system, and it is the filter for our brain. It lets through stimulus, so sound, sight, smells, all those different things. It lets through what our brain has told it that is important. So I've given the example before of when you get a new car, all of a sudden you see that new car everywhere you go, where before you never really noticed it because your brain didn't deem it as important information. The cars were always there. But now that it's your car, it's an important piece of information. And so it lets through those same cars. The same thing happens with our beliefs, where as we start to get these new baby beliefs that we want to believe, as we start to change our thinking, the more we can prove that new thought, that new belief true, the stronger the connection in our brain, the more that our reticular activating system will let through that information, and we will see things more consistently that align with that new belief. So if I want to believe that I'm a patient and present mom, I want to start seeing all the ways that that is already true right now. Our brain does this automatically, usually with what we don't want to believe. If I believe I am a bad mom, if I believe I am an impatient mom, my brain is going to find all the ways that that thought is true. And until we can start showing our brain how the opposite is true, it's going to keep coming up with ammunition to support the idea that I am a bad mom, that I am impatient, that all these thoughts that we think about ourselves that aren't true, but they feel true because we see all these instances that seem to prove it true. So if you want to establish a new belief, you have to start proving this new belief true. So in what ways am I already patient and present and a good mom? And just make a list of whatever that new belief that you want to support, that you want to start believing about yourself, that you want to start believing about your kids. Maybe you have a kid that just feels so hard right now. You're having a hard time liking that kid. Find all the ways that they are so great, that you're so grateful for them, that they're all their amazing qualities that they do have, but sometimes get drowned out by the noise of all the hard that seems to be so prevalent because that's what you're facing more consistently. But as you start to see the ways they are good, the ways that you are good, that's going to become more and more true because you're going to see more and more of that. So, finding proof of these new thoughts. Number 4 is gratitude. And I recently, in the last 3 to 4 months, have rebranded how I do my gratitude journal. I have been writing at least 3 things I'm grateful for the past, almost every single day for the past, oh my goodness, probably close to 10 years now. There's been times where I've very much fallen off the wagon, but it's been a fairly consistent practice for me for a long time, but I've been very consistent for 3 to 4 years now. I love it. But like I said, I've kind of rebranded and have started to write it as ways I have seen the hand of God in my life. And I decided to do this because it helps me feel closer to God. I see how he shows his love for me, and it has made the practice more impactful. And I think the biggest reason is, remember when I talked about affirmations, I said that we needed to feel. I feel so much more when I see it as God's hand touching my life. So I write down, right now I've been doing 5 things every day, 5 ways I see the hand of God. But you could do 1, you could do 10, you could do 7. It doesn't really matter, but this practice of gratitude is so impactful. And honestly, it goes back to that proof of new thoughts. If you want to see the way God has blessed your life, start looking for it. If you want to see the good things in your life, a gratitude practice, start looking for it. And that will become your default because your brain is automatically going to filter in the ways that that is true. Number 5 is, I call it next right steps. I started doing this a few months ago as well, and it has been so amazing. So amazing. I also connect this to God. I will pray before I write down my list so that I can get a little extra guidance to what the one next right thing I can do that day is. And I have mine in categories. So I have, what is one thing I can do to connect with my husband or that my husband might need? One thing with my kids, one thing for myself, one thing for my business, and then I started adding in what is one way I can reach out to somebody else. And it has been so crazy that since I started doing this, I have not ever had a single day where I don't know what to write for one little thing I can do each day. something has always been brought to my mind of what I can do. And I try to make sure that this list gets done for the day. I don't always get to it, and I'll usually just transfer it to the next day. But it has been so cool to see, okay, this is one good thing I can do, one next right step. And if I don't get to anything else, I would rather get to this list than anything else because I know it was guided by God who sees the bigger picture and helps me get to where He needs me to go. Number 6 is scripting. I'm basically creating a story for how I want tomorrow to look. So I will write out, I wake up at 7 a.m. and this is how I start my day, and this is how I see things going, and this is the kind of thoughts I want to be thinking, the things I want to be feeling as I go about the different things during my day. And I kind of just script out what my day is going to look like. And it doesn't always happen because life can be so unexpected, but it helps me set the tone for my day so that I have an idea of what I want it to look like, what I want to be feeling, the intention I want to go into the day with, the way I want to approach certain things that I know I have coming up. It helps me make decisions ahead of time so that I don't get as much decision fatigue and burnout by the end of the day. I have loved doing this. I always do it at night. That's kind of the last thing I do before I go to bed is I will script out my day, and it's not very long. It only takes me like 5 minutes tops. But I've loved that even when my day totally ends up complete opposite of what I thought it was going to, I still feel like it gives me that intention going into my day, and I can approach it in a way that is more aligned with who I want to be and how I want to act. Number 7 is brain dumps. And I kind of see this in two ways. One is just like a general brain dump, similar to the black journaling, but it's kind of just like there's so many thoughts circling through my head, I can't even pinpoint one. I will start to write out anything I'm thinking. And then the other side of this that I do pretty consistently is the to-do lists that are constantly in my head take up so much brain space and so much brain power, and I feel like I keep coming back to them if I don't get them out of my head. Or once I can get them out of my head and on paper, then I don't feel like I have to hold on to all these things that need to get done at some point. I can let them go now that they're on paper, and my brain isn't like, okay, we have to remember this, we have to remember this. It has more brain space for things I actually want to be spending my time and energy thinking about. Really, the point of this is let's lighten the mental load in your head so that you're not the one carrying it, the paper is. And it helps me think way more clearly for things I need to actually think clearly on, like problem solving or being intentional with my kids or my husband or friends even, where I can fully engage in a conversation when I don't have this mini conversation going on in my head too. Number 8 is rewriting a story. I kind of forget about this one sometimes. I've only done it a few times, but I love it. The idea behind this is a situation didn't go how you wanted it to. And as you look back, you're like, I wish I had handled it this way. Write it out the way you wish you had handled it, because it creates a new connection in your brain of this is how we handled this type of situation. And the next time a similar situation comes up, you're more mentally prepared to handle it in the way you want to, because you've created this new story of when this situation happens, this is how I respond. So, for example, we started night training my middle son, and he was doing pretty good for a while. We were having accidents semi often, but he was also kind of just starting out. So, like, I wasn't that worried about it. And the last few weeks, it has been almost daily, that he has woken up having had an accident over the night. And the amount of laundry I have done is getting on my nerves. And I don't usually handle the morning when I ask him if he peed his pants. And he usually tells me that no, he didn't, but he almost always has. So, there's that whole thing. Like, I get so angry and frustrated. And that's so not how I want to respond. And I wonder if that's partly why he's saying, no, I didn't pee my pants, because I get so upset that he peed his pants again. And instead of repeating this day after day after day, I can sit down and say, okay, this is actually how I want this to go. So I'm going to rewrite this morning as if it happened this way, where he wakes up and I ask him if he peed his pants and he says no. And I walk in and see, okay, you did pee your pants. What can we do about it? And I can calmly rectify the situation and let it be a moment of teaching and connection, and or even just neutrality, where it's not some emotional experience for us. And I can rewrite, okay, this is what I would say to him. This is what I would say in my head. These are the things I would do, so that the next time it happens, I've already decided this is what I'm going to say, and this is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to react. And it makes it so much easier. Again, going back to, we're negating decision fatigue because we've already made the decision on how we're going to act in this situation. Number 9 is mindset work and creating solutions to problems. With this one, there is a million and one ways you could go about this. So here are just a few ways. Looking specifically at your mindset work. So this is changing your thoughts and feelings so that you can start responding in a way that you want to. Really rewriting a story is totally within that category. But here's a few questions you can start asking yourself to start rewiring your brain to think differently, so that you start feeling and acting differently and getting different results in your life. You can just start with, how did I react? What was I feeling? What was I thinking? How did I wish I reacted? How do I need to be thinking and feeling to act in that way? What if I believed blank? What if I believed that my kids were not trying to annoy me all the time? What if I believed that my kids wanted to listen? What if I believed that I was a good mom? Whatever that belief is, what would that look like if you did believe that? What would it look like for you to believe that you are a good mom? How would that impact your day? How would you feel, and what would you be thinking as you go to bed at night thinking that? What would it feel like? Who would you be if that belief were true? What would you do? What would you say? How would you say it? What if you didn't have to ever believe something again? What if you didn't have to believe that you are a bad mom ever again? What if you could just get rid of that belief? And again, what would that look like if that belief were true? So with mindset work is also the other side of creative solutions, coming up with solutions instead of just reacting to problems or going to indecision and inaction, because we feel so overwhelmed by the situation that we don't actually do anything about it. So finding creative solutions, looking at this as, okay, what is actually within my power? What can I do today? This is where that next right step thing really comes into play, where if you're facing a problem, a difficult circumstance in your life right now, what is one thing you can do today to move you closer to the result that you want, or to changing the situation, or changing the way you think about it? Just what is one thing you can do? That would be a great way to use that next right step, is to apply a certain situation. Okay, what can I do about this certain situation? Really, this whole ninth way to journal is recognizing what is in your control, and that is your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. And when we can own that, we actually have so much power to change the way we see our life, to change the way our life is, and we have more impact than we think we do when we can focus on what we can actually control, which is those three things. And this ninth way of journaling in particular is what coaching is all about. It's helping you see what you can do, what you have control over in your life, and helping you see how you can start to shift what is in your control, and you actually have more power to change everything in your life than you think you do. If you're interested in seeing what that looks like, I am offering free coaching calls right now. I'll put the link in the show notes, or you can go over to my Instagram and message me, or I put the link up in my stories often. Or if you have more questions, please feel free to message me. But this is what we go into. Sometimes this mindset work, finding creative solutions, is so hard to do on your own. And sometimes you just need someone with an outside perspective to help you see what is possible for you and what is already within you. You already have the solutions to problems, and sometimes we're just so in our head that we can't see it. That's what a coach helps you do, and I want to help you do that. So I would love to chat with you in one of these free coaching calls. As a recap, the 9 ways that we talked about to journal that don't start with Dear Diary and make you sound like you're 13 still is black journaling, where we get out all of our black thoughts and scribble them out. Affirmations and new beliefs. And remember, we're going to put emotion with those because that's what makes them powerful. Number 3 is proof of these new thoughts that we're trying to believe. Number 4 is finding the hand of God in your life, aka gratitude practice. Number 5 is the next right steps, the one next right step you can take today towards creating a better relationship with your spouse, or towards finding a solution to a circumstance you're facing. Number 6 is scripting, where we write out what tomorrow is going to look like, the way we're going to approach our day, and the intention we have behind it. Number 7 is brain dumps. So just generally getting information out of your head, getting lists out of your head and onto paper so your brain doesn't have to hold on to it anymore. Number 8 is rewriting a story that we didn't respond in a way that aligns with who we're trying to be. And so we rewrite the story as if we did show up that way. So it creates a new connection in our brain so that the next time the situation comes up, we are more prepared to handle it in the way that aligns with who we are and who we want to be. And number 9 is mindset work and finding creative solutions within what we can't control, which is our thoughts, feelings, and actions. I know that was a lot of different ways that you could start journaling, and I want you to just pick one. What is the one that really stood out to you where you're like, hey, that would be really helpful for me right now? I want you to just start with that one thing. And you can always add from there. But journaling has become such an amazing tool, and I hope it becomes that for you too.
Thanks for joining me on this week's episode. I would love to hear your thoughts on it, so message me on Instagram at @themissy_allred. There is always room in our village, so if you enjoyed it, will you please send it to a friend or leave a rating and review? Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next episode. Thank you for being here. I'll talk to you next week.